Well, no intro today, folks. Let's begin. And I don't know if you can hear the thunder.
And this is the show where we pick apart the agenda-driven media in the US and call out activism masquerading as journalism. Now, after watching the coverage of these violent riots all across America, I've come to one conclusion. You do not hate these activist journalists enough. They have emboldened rioters, provided a moral framework for them to burn down their own city.
Actually, the question we should ask ourselves this. When was the last time any people, it doesn't matter where you're from, when is the last time any of you who are watching this video ever trust a journalist? Say it in the comments. Let me tell you about the protests, which I think I'm gonna let him continue. I'll talk about it soon. Listen, my journalists or many news outlets in my country or many parts of Asia, one difference between us and the West is factual information. I'm 100% certain most journalists, either in Malaysia, South Korea, Japan, China, they both have factual information.
And it isn't the fault of marauding criminals. It is Donald Trump's fault for daring to deport illegal immigrants and make the mob angry.
Right now, there are more troops deployed to Los Angeles than there are deployed in Syria and Iraq combined. Let me just repeat that, because I've just been thinking about this all day since one of our amazing producers shared this with me. There are more troops deployed to Los Angeles than there are deployed in Syria and Iraq combined. And right now, Donald Trump is also doing everything he can to...
Okay, how many troops? It's like, okay, 2,500. And also, oh yeah, about 4,000. What is that, a regiment? No, a brigade.
make Los Angeles look and feel like a war zone. That's on purpose. That's what he's trying to do.
Well, that's MSNBC's Jen Psaki. She's Joe Biden's former press secretary who has stopped spinning Democratic talking points for a living to spin Democratic talking points for a living.
Trump has deployed 4,000 federalized National Guard troops and 700 active duty Marines to Los Angeles. And the reality on the ground is that the protests that Trump sent these thousands of members of the military to deal with are both largely peaceful and primarily isolated within an incredibly small section of the city. You see that tiny speck on the map? That is the area we're talking about.
Actually, if there were peaceful protests, genius, they don't have to light the car on fire, okay? Peaceful protest doesn't mean you have to create violence, looting, or even burn a car. In my country, you want to know what many organizer or rally organizer do? What they do is meet up with the police, submit a report, and if the police say, okay, you're good to go, then they proceed with the rally. But if the police says no, it's a no, okay? No means no. I don't know if you can hear the thunder.
That you have seen of cars burning down, bricks through windows, stores looted, and scorched chaos left in the wake of rioters, well, it doesn't exist, according to Psaki. Do not believe your lying eyes. Those cars are just peacefully burning. And I'm not sure the point she's trying to make about the curfew zone being small and therefore the riots are not happening. The two facts are completely unrelated. A geographic area can be small and still violent. But all of that aside, the people who are really to blame for the escalation in violence and for the spread of the riots are the journalists who offer a moral justification for the action. As protests were being planned in Chicago, the local paper was running headlines like this. The journalists and local politicians are literally encouraging protests because it serves their joint political goals. They don't get to decide that illegal immigrants won't be deported. There was an election on this and their side lost.
That's the reason. Yeah, this is just a repeat of 2017 when Trump went into office. Unbelievable. Honestly, to my American viewers, I feel sorry for you and you have my sympathy. You don't deserve people like Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass. I have one question. Who in God's green earth elected those two idiots? No, genuinely.
To accept it, not violently resist.
Today at a press conference, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson made clear he also wasn't going to back down and urged the people of his city to do the same, saying, quote, "I'm counting on all of Chicago to resist in this moment because whatever particular vulnerable group is targeted today, another group will be next."
How can any reasonable person hear these media reports, read these headlines, and not draw the conclusion that they want you to protest, they want you to resist, and they want you to cause chaos and damage because it helps them? and it helps them make the argument that Trump is militant and overreaching in trying to stop the chaos.
And now you see why the journalists are dying left, right, and center. IGN's a joke. Polygon is kaput. What else? Kotaku is also kaput. Honestly, it's the reason why many people are watching YouTubers. Because YouTubers are now the new media. Well, except of course Sky News Australia, okay? They're practically the only one, I think, that are better than many other mainstream. Well, congratulations to the Aussie.
Well, joining me to discuss now is Sky News contributor Caroline Di Russo. Caroline, what do you make of the way that the media has reported on the riots, particularly this phrase resist, the fact that they are pushing out a line that it is not only morally okay, but it's the morally correct position to resist, physically resist?
If it wasn't so serious, it would be hilarious, Jack. Like, it would actually be hilarious. This is the sort of thing you'd actually expect from some kind of, satire or whatever. But unfortunately, as we've come to know and love with a lot of activist journalism, particularly out of the US, it's not satire and they're serious. The simple fact of the matter is that there are laws around borders and there are laws around immigration. And like you said in your editorial, the American people decided, well, we'd like those laws to be laws again rather than just kind of opaque guidelines that you may opt in or out of enforcing. So essentially what ICE is doing is just enforcing the law of the land, the law that, as a general rule, keeps things pretty peaceful.
It should be apparent, but then again, you know how it is. The journalists, their ego is so big, they refuse to let it happen. 4 years. I mean, when Biden was in office, oh my God, I could tell most Americans really hate the left and this whole wokeness. I had to ask to all those minority groups, whether you're Hispanic, blacks, LGBTQ, or anything, do you condone this kind of behavior?
The whole idea that somehow that law shouldn't be enforced, and the narrative in particular for me, Jack, around talking about these as vulnerable communities. Can we also talk about, well, we're not just talking about everyday people here. We are talking about people who have violated federal immigration law, but then also, on top of that, people that have gone on to commit violent crime and other sorts of offences. And I don't think that a narrative around calling that a vulnerable community, it's not accurate and it's also not appropriate. But the way that they have pitched this as some sort of moral argument is, in a sense, to take away from the fact that the protest is against something, one, that is legal, which is the enforcement of the law, but also in a way of trying to bait the federal government. And that there has become very obvious. And the simple fact, insofar as California is concerned, Jack, is if those protests were peaceful, there wouldn't have been an issue. But the California government lost control of its own law and order.
And the reason is, I don't know if she's going to say this, Governor Gavin Newsom, or Newscom, is still tweeting about it. He has more time to tweet or retweet than addressing the issues.
Simply the only reason why the federal government had to take action in order to protect those federal law enforcement officers. So there's lots of little slices taken here and there to suit a very convenient narrative. But when you actually lay it all out on the table, the journalists in this case are very severely left wanting.
Well said. Well, the great thinker of our generation, Kim Kardashian, has weighed into the riots. Growing up in LA, I've seen how deeply immigrants are woven into the fabric of this city. They are our neighbours, friends, classmates, co-workers and family.
Okay, first off, that's bullshit, Kim Kardashian. Okay, I had to ask, who the hell still listens to this bozo? You know what, I'm just gonna say this. You know what, I think many Asian celebrities are much more better than this bozo. At least they understand the suffering of people. Well, in Asia at least. I'm certain this people, Kim Kardashian doesn't care. They're rich numbnuts. Sometimes, and I'm gonna keep on saying this, it will come to a point where it's gonna take just one person to completely shut them down. And these celebrities, they can't keep on sitting in their mansion or anything. Oh, no. It's gonna come crashing down on them. It's gonna be a matter of time before all the stuff that is happening in downtown LA will reach them and they will have no one to blame but themselves.
No matter where you fall politically, it's clear that our communities thrive because of the contribution of immigrants. We can't turn a blind eye when fear and injustice keep people from living their lives freely and safely. Now, I actually agree with a lot of that. But I think the issue is that Kardashian is conflating immigration, which has broad support in the community, with illegal immigration, which is not tolerated by any country in the world except for some reason pockets in America. Now, the Assistant Department of Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin appeared to make this point when she responded. Kim Kardashian, which one of these convicted child molesters, murderers, drug traffickers and rapists would you like to stay in the country?
Emotional damage. Kim Kardashian gets owned. Yo, shout out to this defense secretary. I believe that's what he calls. Shout out to this person. Oh boy, that's... I like to see how Kim Kardashian's answer that. I'm 100% certain Kim Kardashian's didn't retweet it or didn't answer it.
Now, Caroline, let's bring you back in because you did sort of make this point a bit earlier. It is more complex than just this perceived war on immigration. That's not what this is about. This is about borders. This is about protecting national security. It's about the will of the people that did vote in this administration to specifically do this. And it was the fact that we did have undocumented people that were committing crimes. There were people that had been murdered. There have been children that have been victimised. And we're seeing a conflation between something which is, completely accepted, immigration, and we're refusing to say that the problem is actually the illegal immigration.
Well, that's exactly the case. And when I read that tweet, I was like, the bits that are missing here are actually the really important bits, the really important nuance as to why all this is occurring in the first place. No one has an issue broadly with the concept of immigration. It happens all over the world. Sometimes there's a question around, is it too much or is it too little? That's fine, but it's broadly accepted and obviously, how do you think I got here, Jack?
Honestly, in my country, I don't think we have any troubles with immigration. They still have to register or anything. Nobody wants an illegal immigration. Look, in my country, I have lost count how many raids they made when it comes to illegal immigration. And there's still currently raids, okay? It's still happening. Fortunately, there are some who came here legally, some are coming illegally, and those illegally gets deported or gets captured. Legally stays.
In the 1950s, and all our migrant communities, they bring something, cultural or work-related, or whatever, and it does. It adds to our society. The thing that is, I think, particularly egregious about the comment that she makes is the fact that the social issues and the violence and the community safety, which is the other thing, Jack, is not something that she has to live with. So she gets to live in her rarefied air, her very safe. I'm sure she's got walls and guards and all those sorts of things that she is not, in danger every other day, in danger of the consequences of illegal immigration.
I'll have the full video link in the description. Sometimes these celebrities, it's going to come to a point where that danger is going to reach so close to them, right on top of their heads, it will be so overwhelming and it will damage them and force them into a harsh reality, and they have no one to blame but themselves. If I got to be like a popular YouTuber, earn a lot of cash, what I do is I just get myself an apartment and a new PC, because this is how I would do. I will probably split 50-50. Half of it, I will keep it for my YouTube funds. The rest, I will have my parents distribute it. Again, like I said, it will come to a point where the danger is going to reach as far as her home or whatever celebrity it is, and then the guards that they hired won't be enough. It will overwhelm them, and boom, their home kaput, finito. Honestly, like I said, all it's going to take one spark for it to reach as far as their home, and I do mean these celebrities' home, and they have no one to blame but themselves. Now for the mainstream media, sorry I got on a tangent, nobody even trusts them. I think most of these people, I don't know if they watch YouTubers or anything, but I highly doubt most of these writers don't watch YouTube, because right now many people are going to YouTube now because frankly, journalists, well, besides Sky News Australia here, the mainstream media is dying. And right now most people, in this case, most people in the mainstream media are trying to do YouTube, which they find it hard to even grow an audience. Like Alyssa Marcante, for example. If you don't know, her videos mostly got high dislike, and she turned off the comments. Very ingenious, Alyssa Marcante. Kudos to the Aussie. I think Sky News Australia, at least in my opinion, at least they're good. Well, minus the one berated Tetris kid, that's nothing. Hopefully that person, she gets let go. To my American viewers, stay safe, be careful out there, and don't listen to these mainstream media. And you now know why mainstream media is dying, because it's filled with activists, aka Media Molotov. They just burn themselves apart, or they just burn themselves. It's just how it is.
Hold on, Griffin. Now we got this airfield secured, we can get a foothold on this island and start pushing the Japanese back. We're through retreating, lad. America's back in this war.
So, leave a like and subscribe if you want gaming news, gaming theories, or you just want to see me play games, or perhaps you like trending topics. You can visit my first, third, and fourth channel up here, or link in the description.